All right. We're doing Seraphon today. Oh, welcome. Popping this open. Doing whatever I can. All right. So I've had these little bastards sitting on my desk for God knows how long. And I want to paint them so that they're done. That they're done and I don't have to worry about them anymore. But I might as well farm them for content. I might as well paint them. So the goal right now is to start with Apothecary White over everything. I'm following a tutorial. I only found one tutorial for how to paint Starborne Seraphon on the entire internet. And it was a really good one. So I'm following that. And of course I'm not gonna have it like I already like made notes. Plus I painted one of them following the tutorial already. It was this guy, and he was like a test. Because I like the Croxagore the most. So I decided to paint this Croxagore first as sort of a test. So he's already practically done. There's still like a few tiny details to do, but it's pretty much good. It's pretty much golden. So I've got all the paints I need already sorted out. So for the big guys, we're just going to paint. We're going to do a very simple just wash of Apothecary White over everything. Apothecary White just to get everything started. So this pot of paint it's practically full. It is so full. It is very full. Then once we are done with that, with painting the entire thing Apothecary White, we do a mixture of Apothecary White with Ultramarines Blue over most of the body, just kind of avoiding like some of the inner thigh and like the chest. So that remains white. It's like and the Saurus Warriors are going to be painted the same way. So you just paint the whole thing that way, because it's going to give a nice base layer for what needs to be added on later. I might not paint the whole thing with it, because just save some paint for other spots. Then we'll also have to paint the legs and everything underneath. There's a lot of different types of scales on these guys. Some of them are going to be more black, some are going to be more blue, some are going to be sort of this white color, like the belly scales are going to be white, sort of gray color we're doing here. He is pretty good. You just need to wick away any excess that's in his eyeballs, because I do not want to have excess paint in there for when I want to add the fine details, because a big part of the Starborne Seraphon aesthetic is those glowing eyes and the glowing parts of the body. So we want him to have that, have his eyes mostly just thin paint. Next, the other guy. Just keep adding more paint to the palette. No contrast medium mixed with this, because I just want the pure gray. Just want the pure Apothecary White coloring. get it all on there. We'll get those colors activated. That might need to be glued down a little bit better. I'll go back to that later. Right now, I just want to do the contrast paint. And then later on, I can try and glue down that pesky piece so that it stays flat. Because it kind of got loose. I think I only use like PVA glue for it or something. That's why it's loose on me. And then with contrast paint, just make sure that you don't get it pooling in weird spots, because that can happen. But right now, we're mostly just kind of setting up the color of this stomach and also laying down some volumes for when we add an even darker color on top of this. Because it's going to be layered. There's going to be lots of layers added on. We'll wait until this paint is dry and I'll come back and fix up that connection there with some glue. Paint water. Oh, I put my paint water over there. 1 second. Practically new. I replaced the paint water. Haven't painted anything since I replaced the paint water. So we got paint water to clean off these brushes. Next, we're going to do each of the Saurus warriors. There are 10 of them. In a game of Spearhead, these guys, they get split up into 2 squads. But in a regular game of Age of Sigmar, this is 1 squad, guys. With Spearhead, it's like you don't have very many units in this army to deal with already. So, just split them up. White. And then later, once all of the paint is dried on the stomach, I will go back with white, just matte white, and touch everything up from there. And there are 13 models to paint. It looks like 14, but it's this guy, he is part of this. He sits on top. I left him separate because I feel like painting him while he's on there is going to be annoying. So I left him as a sub-assembly. So I can take him off as needed, put him on if I need to see kind of what the finished product will look like. Put him over there. Next guy, another warrior. There are 3 special Saurus warriors in the squad. There is a musician, there is a champion, and there's a standard bearer. So it's very similar to how this kit was set up back in Old World, but just a modernized aesthetic. Off. It is a modernized aesthetic of the old kit, but I really like it. Put some contrast there too. The weapons are gonna be done in like the clubs. I'm gonna do in Black Templar because the tutorial I saw was like, oh, do them in Black Templar, and I was like, yeah, that looks nice. So I'm just gonna stick to that kind of idea, and we'll just tidy up around here. There are 2 tutorials that I was looking at. One was for Saurus Warriors and one was for Croxagores. And like one was for Saurus Warriors, one was for Croxagores. But it's pretty much the same exact thing. The exact thing. This one. This guy next. Just laying down everything. The tutorial was like, oh, you can prime them gray and then go over them in dry brush white, but I just zenithalled it. I did gray and then I did white to really just simplify everything. I just zenithalled it and called it a day or a night. I don't remember whether it was day or night when I primed these. You think I remember that shit? That was like a year ago. It was a long time ago. These guys are sitting on the shelf for a long ass time waiting to be painted. Just mocking me. They were standing next to my Tau. Like, hey, you painted those guys. Why not us? What the hell? Like, well, you see, I'm actually using them in games. I don't even know the rules of Age of Sigmar yet. Still learning. I have to review the actual rules of Age of Sigmar because I don't know anything. I bought these models because I thought they were cool and they were on sale for like 20% off. So I went to my local game store. The guy there, he's like, hey, you like dinosaurs, right? I'm like, I do like dinosaurs. He's like, here are some. Have you ever thought about playing Age of Sigmar? I was like, yes. I was looking at the Seraphon. And they're like, well, we got the Seraphon Spearhead, and it's on sale. And I was like, oh, sweet. And he's like, I'm going to hold it for you because it is on sale and somebody could buy it. But since I know you really want it, I'm going to hold it for you. So he held on to it until I showed up in the store and I bought it. Because I know the owner really well. He's like a really friendly guy. That store used to have the most like god awful owner, and then somebody else bought it, and he's like way better. He's like so much better. It's so much of an upgrade. He bought the store, and now the future will be better. The underside of this guy's tail like got some. Oh, I got some gold on it accidentally. I'm gonna touch up this guy later because he does need some touch up. He does need some love. That is more than fair. We will show him some affection. Get in and paint the chest. The big dinosaur. Now the big dinosaur. I'm just using the big brush for everybody. I don't really have a brush much bigger than this one that I like to use often. Oh, there's like a little piece of paint. A little paint scrap from my palette that got stuck. Just wipe that off. Get that off of that guy because we don't want that. All over the face. Because the eyes are very important. I got the eyes looking really good on that Croxagore, but on these Saurus Warriors, they might need a little bit more attention. I don't know what color I want to paint this like standard. Let's still thinking. I might do it in black, or I might do it in purple. Shyish purple? Shyish purple might look good. I will go through and I will see what looks the nicest. And go from there. I could do it in Black Templar maybe, so that it matches the like stone weapons of these guys, because they're kind of like obsidian weapons. The Shyish purple also goes well with it, like a sort of like a cosmic stone. Looks more like something from another world, another timeline. It's got a mask, like a partial mask. That's gonna be painted gold. It's like gonna be a very faint gold. So the exact color of the gold is 1 part Retributor armor to 5 parts of Stormhost silver. So because you use a very little, barely any amount of the gold, and then just saturate it with a bunch of silver. So it's like a very light, easy gold. Very faint gold. But it still looks really cool. Get in there. Then these like straps and stuff on the body, those are going to be Tuskor fur. In there. Just do batch paint all of them. Then the armor on their legs, that's going to be silver too as well. I'm probably going to save all of those opaque colors for part 2 and just do all the contrast tonight. Just get all the contrast paints down and just finish it that way. The tutorial I found was really good. It's really solid, and I used it to paint that other Croxagore, the one that's like almost done. And heck yeah, it does look good. Then wick away any spots where it's a little too dark. There you go. And moving on to the next guy. Need a little bit more of the paint. Yeah, in 2 hours or however long I want to stream for tonight, I'll be doing that, getting that done. Because I still want to do a part 2 tomorrow, so I want to leave some of it to do tomorrow, but it all depends how much gets done tonight. These little guys, these little gaffers. These guys, I think, would be freaking awesome as like something in 40k. As like Tau auxiliaries. I kind of want to just buy a kit of these guys and buy like a kit of Breachers or something. Buy some Fire Warriors and then kit bash it all together and like make some cool lizard, like reptilian alien warriors, because reptilian aliens are like such a staple of sci-fi, right? And it's kind of a shame that there really isn't a representation of them in 40k, right? At least not ones that are like widely recognized. People go, oh, the Tyranids are reptilian. But They're called reptilian. They're called Tyranids dog soldiers. They look more like a dog than a reptile. Like I get it, but the 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 ancient one, the old ones were also said to be reptilian or amphibian. But 40k just really doesn't have that much of a reptile presence. Like there's nothing that's like the Sangheili in Halo. A reptile like alien. And yes, these guys are way bigger than Fire Warriors, so you couldn't really proxy them as Fire Warriors, but these stealth suits, they're about the size of a stealth suit, maybe just lizards that like skulk through like the jungles. They work for the Tau. That could be pretty sick. And moving on. And I think the last one we got is the leader. Like the Carnosaur. Carnosaur rider. And got this guy. He's just a regular source. He's not one of the special ones. He's just a regular old fella. You just go through over the whole thing. You don't need to be too clean at this stage because I am just going to be going over and cleaning up a bunch of it. Also, when I'm doing the like 3-part Apothecary White to 1-part Ultramarines Blue, that's only really going to get painted on like their hard scales. So like you blend it towards the chest, so that a little bit of the white and the gray is still showing through. So they've got like a white chest, and then from there you do just Ultramarines Blue. So here, this leader guy, I just gotta find a good place to hold him by. I can hold him by the spear, I guess. Hold him by the spear. And just sit him down. Find a... Once he's done being painted, and the dinosaur, we find a good way to stick him on there, get him to sit nice, and get it to glue it on. So his arm is actually like a cybernetic arm, like the fantasy version of a cybernetic arm. So like an automail kind of thing from like Full Metal Alchemist. Got like that fantasy prosthetic arm. So it's like powered by like magic. It's like he's got this, and he's casting his spells through that claw. Because these guys are actually pretty sure they're mages in the actual rules of the game. I haven't gotten around to playing yet, but I'm pretty sure these guys do get to cast some spells, some gnarly spells. And he's good. Then his shoulder pads, a lot of this is going to be metal. And some of the accoutrements on his head are also going to be metal. Like a crown. Need to soak up some of the contrast paint that's in his eyeball there. Get it out of his eye. Come on. Get out of his eye. I do want to go back in. There we go. Just sit him down. Now we've got the big ass dinosaur. You got to be careful with it because it is only connected by this one little tiny piece. But with a big ass brush like this, I can get this done pretty fast. You just have to put a lot of paint on the palette. I'm not using a wet palette right now because it's all contrast paint and I don't want excess water to get added to the contrast because it can kind of mess with how it performs. With contrast paints just straight out of the pot, you want those as like your main color. You're applying the color, the main color that way. And then if you want to use a contrast paint instead as a shade, you thin it down with like either some like airbrush thinner or like contrast medium is a good one too. And it helps it perform as either like a lighter color of a contrast or like a shade, depending on how much you add. And soak it up and move it around because it takes so long to dry. You can use the paint, you can use the model itself almost like a palette and just shift the paints around. A lot of this apothecary white is just going to get covered up, but it's just a good way to get some volumes. So when I add the next color, a little bit darker. Also, I want the underside of his tail and his body, sorry, the inner part of his arms to be that white. So we just go in there, claws and teeth, all these natural weapons and predatory attacks. The makings of a beautiful, beautiful predator. And I love how they did the sculpting on it too, because it's so dynamic and so like realistic. It actually looks like a real animal because of the wrinkles there, the folds. On another brand, those folds they might just be completely flat and they might not even exist there. But Games Workshop is, you know, they're fucking expensive. Say what you will. Games Workshop, expensive ass models. But you get what you pay for. You get really beautiful models. And then go down further. The claws are going to be done up in Black Templar. And then I'm going to do Skaven Blight Dinge. Storm Vermin Fur, I think it was. Storm Vermin Fur, I think, was the paint they used. Some of my paints that I use for my Tyranids are getting use on this model as well, too. And then I also want the eyes on this to glow. I do want the eyes on the big dinosaur to glow as well. These are the Starborne. I was also even thinking of like adding some little sparkles, like little white stars on its scales, like where it's the darkest, the blackest, where the scales are when I'm almost done, and the scales are like really dark and really black. Add some little sparkles, make it look like a galaxy on the creature. But you know, that would be just a one-off thing for this model, I think, or like other big models that I do for this army. A lot of this is going to get covered up by other paint colors. I have to make sure I get underneath and just get everything perfect. There we go. Here. There is the Carnosaur with the first layer of paint added to him. That's good. So, looking at the timeline, I've been live for half an hour. So half an hour to do one layer. I'll probably get each of these guys, I'll probably get done adding down all the contrast in like 2 hours. Because there's a few different settings I need to do. So, who is dry? Who out of these guys is completely dry? I think we did this Croxagore first. So he is dry. It's all dry. And we can move on to doing a little something with him. So, just dry up some of this paint that's there. Apothecary white. Then I need Ultramarines blue. Doing an even, or doing not an even mix, but like a 3 parts to 1 part. Very light. I'm going in with a smaller brush, so I have a little bit more control. Also not so small that I have to, fiddle around, paint every tiny little detail. 3 dollops of that paint on that palette. 1 dollop of this. I'll just mix it all together. Mix it all together so it's nice and even. It might need a little bit more apothecary white. So yeah, a little bit more apothecary white will bring this to life. Yeah. Add that in. I think I might have to do this mixture for each individual one. I could mix whole batches of it, but no. It might be nice to just kind of make each one look a little bit different. So we paint sort of the inner part. And it's actually, this brush is actually not the greatest. I don't know. I think I put too much paint on it, but you just paint towards the inside of his chest. And the hands. And the back. We want to leave his chest and sort of his neck sort of that same color that we put down before. White. And on the top of his skull. And on this end here. And down towards there. Now, a lot of this is going to get covered up by Ultramarines blue later. So, it doesn't need to be entirely perfect. Warhammer painting is ugly until it's pretty, is what I always say. There will be a stage where the model looks really, really weird. And it will look strange. And only you will understand the artistic vision of the model you're painting. Somebody will see the work in progress model, be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I am creating art. Trust the process. Trust the process. Then His inside of his leg is just going to stay that kind of same white. Just go down. And as we move towards the back, hardened sort of keratin plates. Because I paint a lot of Tyranids, so exoskeletons, my specialty. So anything with really hard scales like this is it's not foreign to me. It's not alien. It's in fact very welcoming. These are my people. These are my people. Also, I've been watching a lot of Godzilla lately, and like these guys, they look like little Godzillas. So that's awesome. I gave them the more dinosaur looking heads. There are more crocodilian looking heads available in the kit. So you can kind of make them look more like a crocodile if you want, but I like these heads. These heads are they're very Godzilla, very Godzilla like. So I'm a big fan of these. Now I'm going to mix another little batch of that weird paint concoction, 3 parts. 3 parts apothecary white. It says 3 parts, but I just kind of put like 4 there. It's fine. It's fine if it's not perfect, because it is just a transition layer. It is not meant to be the final end-all be-all color that these guys are going to be. So let's get our prehistoric pal all ready to go. Down by his feet. Down by his feet. Inside of the leg. Because the inside of the leg is also sort of that hardened keratin kind of scale look. It's not chitin. It's not chitin like an insect. It is keratin. This is what our hair is made out of. What bird feathers are made out of. And what reptile scales are made. Just kind of saturate the color a little bit more. Just wear as needed. That is looking pretty cool. There is our Croxagore. He will get another layer of Ultramarines blue put on top of that existing layer. You just have to be careful blending this in and not put too much. Then down towards the feet. We just want the bottom of his tail to remain white. So don't touch it with any of the paint. Carefully blend. Okay, I need less paint on the brush there. And his big, there's big beefy arms for good measure. Making sure not to touch the weapon too much because I do have to go over that with some kind of color. I will have to go over it with a different paint at some point. And then his back. Yeah. Then down this side. Oh, 1 second. Okay. I think I need a little bit more of that paint. Mix it again. Pre-mixing would be a lot easier, but I didn't do that because I'm lazy. And I would rather just mix it on the palette. Not deal with pipets and other bullshit. I'm doing painting, not fucking chemistry. I mean, it is technically chemistry because it's like all the chemicals that go into making the paints, make the pigments and shit. But hey, man, it's like I don't know any of that stuff. I just know colors. It's so funny. He's like got the reptilian equivalent of a shit-eating grin. It is so funny. Like look at this fucker. And then once this color is all done, like it's all like dry, you paint the fang and like rust gray over these colors. You get really cool effects. You get some cool edge highlighting stuff, striations and all that good stuff. Then onto the back of this foot and on the underside of his arm. Just under there, underside. Yes. That works pretty well. Like that. This color. And then I'll probably have to go over it just in entirely just in ultramarines blue, just to get that final color I need. On to the first source warrior that will get the ultramarines blue and apothecary white mixture. And then let's go. There's less surface area, so it's just easier. I say it's easier, but then I'm like, oh no, there's raised surfaces. On the back, on the tail. Oh yeah. We'll be able to paint a couple of these with each little batch of paint that I put down on the palette. Yeah. You can blend a little bit into the chest. And then under the foot. And then the face. The face. And the arm. The back of this arm. It's like inside the shield. There you go. So this should paint that arm. And the hand. Inside and the hand. And then towards the outside, we'll paint more just pure ultramarines blue. That just wipe off the excess paint. Now adding another mixture. Apothecary white. And ultramarines. Go. That should be good for now. Take another one of these guys and I'll touch up his arm here because it needs a little bit. Just saturate the color a little bit more. That'll happen with the just pure ultramarines blue that gets added. I do kind of want to just make it look a little nicer. onto this guy. Back, his arm. The tail. Top of the tail, at least. I have quite a big batch of this paint mixed up, so I can probably do quite a few of these Source Warriors with it. Part of me is thinking maybe I could have done the shields as sub-assemblies, but like, I don't know. I don't know. It could have been a possibility, but we're past that stage now. They're already built. They're already put together and glued to their bases too. The bases I could have done separately even. It would have been a little easier, but I did want to have them painted, like at least built. So if I wanted to get a practice game in or they aren't completely painted yet, I could do that. But, you know, it is what I managed to paint the Croxagor's base just fine with him glued to it, so it's not the end of the world if he is glued to the base. It makes it a little harder, but there's always touch up. Always touch up I can do. And paint a little bit of blue in towards the chest so it's kind of like a blend. Just a subtle blend. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy with that. Next guy. What's that? I'll have to mix up more of it. All right. This guy's pose is a little weird because he like blocks a lot of his body with the sword and shield, with the club and the shield. I'm like, oh god, I have to get behind those to actually paint him. But it's okay. Underneath. Uh, just underneath there. Almost done. This section. Oh yeah, and then there's also Drakenhof Nightshade that's gonna go on these before they're done. Before the blue is done. I'm mostly just doing all the contrast stuff tonight, so that that's done, and then move on to all the fine detail work tomorrow night's stream. That is plan, or it all depends how much I can get in the span of a bit. In the span of 2 hours. 2 hours or 3 hours. Me, I don't like to do super long streams. Just so that I can, I like to get some rest. I like to get some relaxation before the end of the night. I do like that. Me, I'm not a lazy person by any means, but it's just work does take a lot out of me, like my normal day work. But it's not the end of the world if I do a short stream, right? It is most certainly not. The next guy. Let me just go down over the legs. Then a lot of this is going to get covered up by opaque paints. That's the thing with Warhammer painting, is sometimes you know what's going to get covered up later on your model. So you're like, I don't really care if I spill some paint on that because it's going to get covered up later. Right? It's your model and you know it better. See, your vision for it is probably different than the sculptor's vision. Like me, I painted my barb gaunts like they had eyeballs on their guns. And then I went back and I looked at the art, like the studio paint job, and it turns out they're not supposed to be eyeballs. They're just these little flesh circles. I was like, well, that's dumb. I don't like that. When I saw the model, I went, that's an eyeball. So I painted it like an eyeball because I thought it would look cool. And it does look cool. And that's all that matters, is if you like the model, that's all that matters. Unless you're trying to enter it in a competition. Then I guess you also want other people to like it. You want it to have a wide appeal. Like, I have a Mortarion that I was painting. And God, I love Mortarion. I could have done a crazy color scheme for him, but I just decided to go just regular because I was thinking of entering it in a competition. Because I think painting competitions are a great way to show off your painting skills, and if you win, you can brag about it. Tell your friend, like, "Hey, I won this thing." Winning things is fun. I don't know if my Seraphon will win any awards, because it's going to be a very simple color scheme. It's not the craziest. And also just going back over and touching up some of their armor. Well, their natural armor. Their skin is scales, after all. They are very reminiscent of crocodiles. Those scales. Crocodiles are such interesting animals to like look at and study, just because of kind of how the scales look. Because the different scales over their bodies serve different functions and all kind of line up in different ways, and they're really cool. Also, crocodiles are cute. Crocodiles are a cute animal. I don't care what anyone says. I think crocodiles are cute. They're adorable. Now, people will that I know, oh, that's a weird take. A lot of people will probably look at me and say, K-Mac, what the fuck are you talking about? A crocodile is not cute. It is literally a giant lizard monster with the personality of a chainsaw and a mouth full of teeth. I'm like, have you seen what they look like when they're just like at peace? Like they're not attacking something. They're so cute. They have those derpy little eyes that stick up above the water, and it's like, oh my god, that is so cute. How is a ruthless killing machine of an animal so cute? I don't know. There's a lot of animals like that are like an animal that could just easily just murk you, but they are very cute. People underestimate raccoons. A raccoon could fuck you up. Don't fuck with raccoons. They're scary. Badgers. That's a scary animal. A badger. I think I'd be more scared of a badger than a crocodile. Honestly. Because crocodiles are very rarely attack humans. You know, they're just chilling in the water. They eat fish. They'll eat land animals, but humans, it's rare that crocodiles attack humans. Pretty sure? That's what I read. Also, another thing, we're watching Godzilla a lot lately, right? And lots of Godzilla movies. And like, Godzilla's very similar to a crocodile. Very, very crocodile-like in appearance. Like, they call him a dinosaur, but I'm like, he is definitely got that crocodile DNA. Like the way he moves through the water, like the swishing of the tail, and like even the scales, like how they're lined up. He looks like a crocodile to me. Ugh. Okay. I just had to read a message. Somebody sent me a message. Slapping down some more paint. The rate this is going, I don't think I'll get too much more done tonight. I don't think I'll get much done tonight, but you know, I'll try my hardest. Try my damnedest to get more done. The next week I'll probably be working on this too if it's not done tomorrow night's stream. There you go. Got the paint mixture. Just grab one of these guys. Moving on. Moving on. Sort of Triceratops frill that they got on there. I'll wick some of it away after I've covered it. Use a dry brush. You have to go back with a smaller brush, tinier brush to kind of get some of that paint off where it's a little bit too saturated. There you go. Legs. Go all around the leg. Bottom of the toes. Then underneath. Around the other way. Just doing it the same way we did everybody else because it's all batch painting, right? It's all batch painting. I do want to get some more Seraphon models at some point to paint, but hot damn, that will be a long ass time from now because, you know, I do not have the finances to be spending money on Warhammer. If I'm spending money on anything, it will be probably for the channel and probably for moving out, right? Like we are looking, me and my friend are looking for a new place to live. So that is also huge. And that is also something that will definitely eat into my money. So no Warhammer. No buying Warhammer until all the other Warhammer in the pile of shame is done being painted. And also when I've moved out. Is logical course of action. That does seem to be like the most reasonable thing. I have been buckling down and not spending money on a lot of hobby things. I did break once and I spent a bunch of money on some magic cards. It was magic cards that I was long overdue to buy anyway for my commander decks because they were the Surveil lands. And when I bought them, well, back when the set that they came out, I was also on like a big savings like vendor. I'm like, I can't spend any excess money, and then I completely missed the set release. Also, haven't gone to pre-releases in a long ass time either. For Magic, pre-releases just don't grip me as much as they used to. Like, as fun as it is to play with the new cards, if you go to a pre-release and you get an absolutely like dog shit pool of cards, it's just a miserable time. It is just absolutely miserable. That's why when like you get the pre-releases that have seeded packs, they're so much better. Because then you can like kind of pick your faction and then you also get like set up a little bit better. But there's always kind of that RNG factor involved where you could just get completely screwed by awful luck and pull just nothing but shitty cards. That can happen. It can happen, and sometimes it will happen. It's just the law of probability. The laws of probability just saying no, saying nah, you don't get good cards today. I only have this one pot of Ultramarines blue, but I don't feel like I'll run out before I'm done this project. This is the only thing I use Ultramarines blue on. Because it's so dark that it doesn't really do well for my Tyranids. Like, I could thin it down a lot and then use it as like a shade on Tyranid carapace, but I don't know, it just does not feel like it does not feel like the kind of paint that is useful for projects besides like this one. Like, I have it because my buddy traded me a huge collection of paints. So I have a bunch of paints that I'm like, oh, I'll never use this, but then I end up using it anyway when I start some new project or when I get a commission. So sometimes I'll get a commission and I'll be like, oh god, I do not have the paints to paint this, and I'll have to go and buy more. So I end up not losing money on the commission, but like I end up spending more money than I thought I would to get the commission done. But then once you actually have the paint, you've got it for other projects, right? So I don't really charge people like, oh, I don't have that paint, so you have to pay me. Like, I don't charge people that way. I just kind of factor it into like the cost. Though some exceptions I'll make is if people want a model, like they want something primed in a specific color, I'm like, you gotta pay me for the spray can because it's expensive. Like, spray cans are not cheap. So sometimes I'll like get people to pay me for that out of a commission, but it's normally not part of it, not involved. It's just factoring in the factored into the materials cost of the rest of the commission. Then once I have Ultramarines blue on here, we use Drakenhof Nightshade. Drakenhof Nightshade to get even more volume out of these colors. But I still need to put the regular Ultramarines blue on, like the not thinned Ultramarines, like not mixed with Apothecary White, where it's just the pure color. That still needs to go on. And, helmet. Not his helmet, but his head. I also will have to get into those eyes with like into the eyeballs with like the really like not thin white, but like get into the eyes with the white paint So then I can add the achromatic blue and get that glow on there. You just kind of layer it up as you go to get this really good glow effect. I'm trying to think like what color to paint around achromatic blue so that it kind of looks more like OSL. I think Temple Guard blue could work, but it's not really. Temple Guard blue isn't really like the same sort of teal. Sybarite green could work. I'll look through my collection. That stage isn't going to happen until much later. I don't think. I do not believe that we'll get to that stage tonight, but that is like the very complex stage. I have one more Source Warrior to do, and then we move on to the big dinosaur and the Source Scar Veteran. Carnosaur and Source Scar Veteran. One more guy. Just get some of this paint laid down. Yeah. Sit in. Get that kind of nice. Almost like a nice navy blue, like a light blue. Navy blue. Well, light navy blue. Navy blue is really dark. But this is like navy blue, but like on the lighter end. Lighter end of navy blue. Ultramarines blue. But ultramarines aren't even ultramarine. What the hell? Like me who knows color theory and me who knows colors. So you're telling me ultramarines are called that because they're from Ultramar and not because they wear blue? Like, yes. Like, what the fuck? I always found that really funny about Warhammer lore that like ultramarines are from Ultramar and that's why they're called that. Like they're not called that because they're literally blue. They're not ultramarine, but they're like a shade of blue. Ultramarine is like a really, it's like a more of a brighter blue than their color, right? Now don't get me wrong, it's still blue. It's still blue. But it's a more of a bright blue. Like ocean blue. Because marine ocean. Right? So Space Marine. My favorite Space Marines are the Carcharodons. If I ever did a Space Marine army, I would do Carcharodons. Because they're very cool. And Tiburos the Red Wake, also just as a character, is just super cool and just goes hard. I still need to read their novels. But the fact that I want to read the novels is a testament to them because normally I don't really get huge into like the lore of like reading novels relating to things. I typically like to, just play the games or read the lore that's kind of expressed in the games themselves, like in codexes, for Warhammer. But the novels, I've heard there's a bunch of really good ones. There's a ton of really good Warhammer novels worth reading. The Infinite and the Divine. There's a series about Tyranids too. Okay, so now we have dinosaur. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to this. just to get it, just to reinvigorate it a little bit. And then we're doing him the exact same way as all of the littler guys. Just kind of scaling it up. A big model. I'm no stranger to using the same color scheme for every scale of model and just adding a little bit more detail as you go up. So that's kind of how I do it with Tyranids. Then leave the tail below white. The tail above would be blue. And then we'll add even more color later. These spikes on the very back here, they're going to be black. Black, maybe I'm still debating if I want to put the white sparkles on them. So it's like a galaxy, like a nebula, really put the star in Starborne. But like a giant galactic dinosaur, that's a cool idea. I kind of so like a dinosaur that's kind of a galactic color scheme is really cool. We need a bit more of this paint. And then make sure it's not too dark on there. Some of the scales, like the actual natural scales of his body, are showing through this crown. Kind of wraps around his natural head crest and kind of accentuates it. So you've got his nose here. Got kind of a very clearly a dinosaur, like meant to look like a dinosaur. Also got some kind of some frog aspects to it as well. It's actually kind of amphibian, which is something I'm just noticing now. The cheeks are very puffy, right? Like they look like those big air sacs that like a frog has, right? So like those big cheeks. So maybe that's meant to kind of hint that like, oh, they might be more related to the slan than one might think. These are like these are either like ancestral beasts to the slan, right? Something like that. I'm not sure of the lore of it, but just looking at the design, that's the kind of design language that's speaking to me. It's kind of explaining to me, hey, maybe these guys, maybe this dinosaur is more related to the frogs than you might think, right? At first glance. It's got a little bit of a flatter face, sort of more like a frog than a dinosaur. I really like that. Also, these spikes up here, I'm gonna get really creative with those spikes. I have painted a Slan Star Master before, and the spikes were really fun to paint because I just painted them as like animal horns. So like I looked at things like, you know, wildebeest and just these animals that have these crazy horn patterns, right? So that I could copy it and really get that animal horn look. One of your best resources as a Warhammer painter is always going to be the references. Because if you want to get your models looking realistic and you have to find references that will help you Of course, these are things that do not exist. They are imaginary. So you're like, how the fuck do I find reference for something that doesn't exist? Well, you have to think of things that do exist that are close. Like, for example, this animal here, this carnosaur, I could look at reference pictures of a crocodile to help me get the right look, kind of the right idea of the highlighting down, and really help out my painting, because I would know sort of where the light kind of falls on their scales, what they look like. You have to look at something that exists. So like, how do fantasy painters paint a dragon? It's something that doesn't exist, right? They use their knowledge of anatomy and of animals that do exist to create something that does not. They go by imagination. They use their imagination just as much as they use their knowledge of existing animals and existing biology to create something entirely new. Something truly, truly spectacular. And you can do the same thing with Warhammer painting. You take a page out of the painter's book and out of the artist's book. Traditional, because we are still painting. It's just our palette, our canvas is a three-dimensional thing. It's a physical thing that exists. Whereas a painter is painting on a 2D canvas and has to express depth and all sorts of concepts simply through their painting. We get a little bit of a cheat code with Warhammer painting, where the model does a lot of the work for us. That's not to say that it's easier. There's you still have to make a model look alive. Like, it's not just a flat thing that is just, because you can easily end up making your models look like toys, or look like little, exactly what they are, toy soldiers, instead of creating that illusion to make them look truly alive and truly like they stepped out of the game world. That's why I like having battles against other people with really nicely painted armies, because it helps add to the immersion. Really helps get you situated into the actual world of the game, world of Warhammer. And Warhammer is a great franchise to get immersed in, but there are I understand that there are definitely barriers to entry. A lot of people are like, well, I don't like painting, or there's so much lore. Where do I start following the lore? It's all comes down to, it's like, what do you like? Like, you have your choice of lots of different media and lots of different options. You have so much to explore. It isn't like you're just stuck in one spot. Also, Warhammer 40K. I love Warhammer 40K over something like Magic the Gathering, because they haven't fallen victim to this like Fortniteization of everything, where they feel like they have to introduce other outside properties to appeal to other people. Warhammer, just if they want to create something new to appeal to people, to new people, they kind of take what people like about some sort of new property and make it their own, right? And that's what I enjoy about Warhammer over something like Magic, where like Magic used to be my main game. It used to be like what I played more frequently and what I enjoyed over Warhammer. But Warhammer took over when Magic started flying off the freaking handle and deciding it's a crossover game now. That it's Star Wars and Star Trek and Avatar and Magic the Gathering. But Warhammer's still its own contained universe. It doesn't have to rely on external stuff. And I like all these properties. I like the properties that Magic the Gathering is introducing as their universes beyond. It's just they're good on their own. They don't have to be part of Magic. They don't have to be these. They don't have to be tied at the hip to Magic to be their own thing. Right? It's one of those things where I'm like, how different would it be? How different of a world would we be in if like Lord of the Rings, if they made like a separate card game, Lord of the Rings, or if Universes Beyond like Magic was its own separate, like isolated thing. Like, how different would it be? But you know, that's all like ifs, ands, and buts. I'm just thinking about what could have been instead of what is, and like just either accepting kind of what Magic is as an entity now, or I know people who have like stopped playing and almost entirely because Universes Beyond was just got too ridiculous. They looked at Universes Beyond and went, well, shit. Because it's something that we thought was like impossible, right? Because Wizards always like people from Wizards of the Coast always talked about it being like sort of a pipe dream of like, no, we're not going to be introducing outside properties into Magic, but the entire like idea of it just flipped on its head with The Walking Dead, right? And while there was significant pushback against The Walking Dead, I think they had already had so many brand deals already in place, like so far in advance, that they couldn't like step back. They couldn't actually like do anything to stimmy the tide of it, I don't think. Okay. There we go. And then his face. Underneath. And I think part of this is like actually his like head crest. His actual head crest. And some of it's like just decorations. I don't know what is what on this, but I'll look at like the studio picture later and I'll figure it out. I will figure out what it's supposed to look like. 135. 1 hour and 35. that's looking okay. That's looking good. I think those are like golden like tips on his horn, like caps. Yeah, he's definitely got some like golden caps and like jewelry. Yeah. Yeah, it would be like the equivalent of like jewelry on a human, right? There you go. There you go. That's good. Now I will start filling out some of the ultramarines blue, darkening down some of these colors, and making it look awesome. It will look awesome. Dinosaur. It's a big dinosaur. Just blend it in there. It's certain parts will be darker, certain parts will be lighter. Darkness and light. Light and darkness. Light and Darkness Dragon. The Yu-Gi-Oh card. There's a Yu-Gi-Oh card that fucking slaps. Light and Darkness Dragon. I'm doing the dinosaur first because I want to get a feel for like kind of how this blending will look on something bigger before I move it to something smaller. I'm doing the reverse of what I was doing before because I just kind of want to see like what the transition between that like thinned blue looks like. And then maybe like put a little bit of water in. Oh, yeah. Put a little bit of water in there. Oh yeah, just thin it a little. Just paint on the inside. Because it's an animal, right? It's not going to look entirely perfect because they have differences in their scales, they have different colorations and pigmentations in their skin. So you just want to kind of get the right consistency on there. Also, I do not care about getting anything on the throne or on the saddle, I guess you call it, because I'm going to be painting it in metallics later. This dinosaur is really shaping up to be something special. Yes. That is looking good. Just going down. And kind of where it joins up with the rest of the body is kind of like, I don't think I'm going to be adding too much Black Templar. Maybe where some of the scales look really thick and like really hard, like the hardened, like really hardened scales could get some. But I think this is fine how I'm doing it right now. Just, just, gotta move. I shift my weight a little bit. Shift your weight. There's nowhere to shift me weight to. But I love that video. It's a video from YouTube. There's this guy, he's like standing on a roof. This is a Scottish guy standing on the roof. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking fall. They're like, just shift your weight. Put it on your other foot. And he's like, where am I supposed to stand? And it's so relatable because we've all been there. Like somebody's giving you instructions that it makes sense from where they're standing, but from where you are, you're like, bro, I'm going to fall if I do that. I might even die. Like, no, just do it. Like, just shift your weight. And you're like, no. That's a stupid idea. What do you think I am, an asshole? The mouth. Oh, I'm taking it off the screen, off the camera. I'm moving it away from the fucking camera there. His mouth will be painted like glowing because, you know, Starborne color scheme. Everything glows. Everything glows in a cool, like, blue look. There'll be some cracks in the scales. Yeah, it'll look really cool. It'll look really cool when it's done. I might even enter it in a contest. That would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We were cool, right? Yeah. Very, very happy. Then just touch up where I missed. I missed earlier. Like over here. With like, thin it with water. Yeah. But that's looking cool. That is looking so cool. It is shaping up to be an awesome dinosaur. Yeah, these dinosaur models are really fun. Saurus warriors, and the Seraphon. And then I just need to get underneath there, I think. Yeah, part of me is like, you should have done these in sub-assemblies, you asshole. And like, the other part of me is like, bro, sub-assemblies, you have to like separate them and like glue them separate, and it's annoying. Like, well, don't fucking just think about what you're gonna do ahead of time and then do that. And then adding more of the color, the ultramarines blue over this guy, who is the Saurus Scar veteran. He's very scarred, and he's a brave veteran of wars of the old ones. They have a plan. I'm gonna soak up some paint from the eyeball there. There you go. That looks better. I'm trying to not get their eyeballs covered in freaking paint. Because, oh god, I don't want to have to go back and refill all that, or like try to paint over the fact. There you go. There. He is looking good. His head, definitely have to go back and add some junk. Proxigore, I'm just grabbing whichever ones I think could do with some of the touch up from the Ultramarines blue. Yeah, just getting in there and just doing the blends. Lens right. And then just down there, and then over and their arms. Yeah, this color scheme's really cool, but it is not easy to find like resources on how to do the paint scheme. There are some tutorials on YouTube that are amazing, and I've been using those. But beyond that, very little. Regular Seraphon, I think you could probably find. Maybe there is a tutorial on like Warhammer TV to do Starborne Seraphon, but I've just been following this one that I found on YouTube. It's just really good. I could probably put a link somewhere. If there was any interest in that. And on towards the back. Gotta make sure that like the really like hard looking scales are all and he's got a prosthetic on his tail too, or like maybe it's armor. But yeah, it looks like does look like a prosthetic Thagomizer. Like maybe he lost his Thagomizer in battle, and then they built him a new one out of metal. Is pretty freaking cool. That does go hard. Because they're like, man, you can't go into battle without your Thagomizer, bro. It is a part of you. It's like you learn from infancy how to crush rats with this thing. It's like imagine being a little baby Croxagore and you're like, oh, a spider, and he just swings his Thagomizer, just knocks the spider out. Like, oh, I hate spiders. Mom's like, just calm down. All about it's just a spider. He just like beans it over the head with the freaking Thagomizer. Over the cephalothorax, I guess, because it's a spider and spiders don't really have heads. They have their body is their head. The cephalothorax. Add some water. I'll add some water to this. Usually I do use contrast medium for something like this, but hey, I'm just like honestly, just use water. Because I don't want to get my contrast medium out just for this. That just seems stupid. Seems like a waste. There you go. There's that guy. There's that guy. There's that boy. Here's that lad. And then we move on to his brother. These guys are like triplets, right? They fight in threes. Makes sense if they were all from like the same brood, right? How many eggs do female Croxagores lay at a time? I don't know. Maybe like 20. And they have like 20 little ruffians running around beating up spiders. Like I was talking about earlier. They're like, oh, my boy is growing up so fast. Soon he'll be crushing Skaven for the old ones in no time. They go off to learn the art of war and of battle. It's like Elder Croxagore as the train. I don't know anything about the lore. I'm just guessing. I can look it up. Croxagores, I'm gonna look up Croxagores and find out that later they're like they are abandoned at birth. You're like, oh no. It's something really, really tragic, really, really sad. You're like, oh no. Not the poor Croxagores. I like those guys. They're cool. They are my friends. In that they are my allies when I play the game. When I play Age of Sigmar. But I haven't actually gotten a chance to play Age of Sigmar yet. So I don't know. I don't know anything. I do not know anything yet. I'm still learning. I'm like an Age of Sigmar baby. So if somebody like shows up in the chat and they know all kinds of shit about Age of Sigmar, especially the Seraphon, like feed me lore, feed me tidbits so that I can learn. I want to know. I do. Because learning is good for you. Learning is awesome. Ignorance, bad. Learning, cool. Ignorance, fucking cringe. Learning and expanding your knowledge base, knowledge based. Anyways, it is probably almost time for me to end. I don't want to go on too much longer. I do want to save some of this for later, probably tomorrow, after I get home from my errands and just other stuff that I'm doing. Very much like to continue on painting these guys. We are on the Ultramarines blue portion, just pure Ultramarines blue, so darkening down everything and kind of making it all look that nice dark blue and bringing out that that blue color. Because right now it's kind of a faint blue, right? It's not, it's dark, but it's like a faint, just subtle layer of the blue. And what I want to do is I want to saturate that blue and make it a little darker. And then we're going to graduate up into black with another layer. So this is just to kind of have this nice little transitionary layer between the white of the belly and sort of the black of the darkest and hardest of the scales, like the spikes on the back and the spines that stick out. So these are probably like leftovers from their ancestors when, you know, something bigger and badder than they are tries to bite them. They have these spikes to fend them off. And also, spikes just look cool. Spikes just look cool and more intimidating. So if spikes aren't useful for protecting you from predators, they can be useful in mating displays for just making you look bigger and more intimidating than opposing rivals. So maybe that's how they got the spikes. You know, it's biology. Move on. Next one. I'll do the champion. This is whichever one I grab. Whichever one I grab from the pile, because they're all dry, pretty much. They're all dry. You just make their color a little darker. And then Drakenhof Nightshade. I do not know how well the Drakenhof Nightshade will work for shading, because they're already really, really dark. So Drakenhof Nightshade might just be like kind of just like what's the word? Superfluous. Superfluous is the word I'm looking for. Superfluous. Some people say superfluous. I'm like, I'm not clear on how to pronounce that word. Superfluous, superfluous. It's either one. Either one, either one. That's another one that people say. Either way, either or either. Either, either? Like that shit? Add a little bit of water. Water. Contrast paint's starting to kind of dry up. Get a little dry. I might have to add more onto the palette. But so far we're doing good for ourselves. We've got these Kroxigors and these Saurus Warriors coming along well. And I do want to get like, I do want to expand this army at some point and have like a 2,000 point Age of Sigmar Seraphon army. I've also got a Lizardmen army for Old World. I still need to paint them too. So there's going to be a lot of lizards. There's going to be a lot of lizards. And it's on theme because I'm a lizard. I'm a dinosaur. I'm a ancient reptilian beast. So there is that. That is why I collect so many lizards, is because I am one. Legitimately. That's why I have such a vast array of strange creatures. Strange Warhammer related reptilian creatures. Because I am one. I am a dinosaur after all. Velociraptor. And moving on. Under his chin. And then, oh, the inside of his leg I forgot to. God damn it. Oh, we'll just paint it now. We'll just make up for it. We'll just make up for lost time. We'll just do it. Fuck it. Fuck it. Who cares? I will have to do a bunch of edge highlighting on these guys too later as well. Edge highlighting and painting individual scales. That's going to be the most labor intensive part of this, I think. Also, looking at this guy. Black Templar is kind of focused towards like spikes and sort of like the top of the head. Also, there's Drakenhof Nightshade on there too. Yes. A white scar like around the belly to kind of lighten it back up. Just how I'm looking at it right now. All right. We're almost at the 2-hour mark. I'm tired. I do want to work on some other things. It's been pretty quiet in here for the most part. But anyways, I'm gonna head off before too long. And if you're watching the VOD, thanks for watching the VOD. Thanks for staying with and listening to me yap about Warhammer. And you have yourself a wonderful day. Goodbye.